Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Project Metal Chalk. So the time is finally here to do that one thing that I said I was going to do in my last video, the update video. So before we get into that, as you can probably maybe kind of see, I did cut my hair like I said I was going to, so that's great. Second thing we're going to get into is a little bit more housekeeping. We are finalizing plans to film the giant board game video that I talked about. We will be getting that out soon. Filming for that's actually going to start sometime after this series is fully posted. So once the last episode of this comes out, hopefully the first episode of that will be coming out. So be looking for that. And now on to today's video. So, I have been getting asked a lot of questions about how to build a world. Like, oh, Metal Chalk, how do you build a world so fast? Or how do you do this? How do you fit these things into said worlds that you build? Because my goal is to become a writer one day. Writer slash business owner slash blah, anything that falls into that category. So, with that being said, I decided that it would be fun to film a series on how to build a world and bring in a couple friends to do it. So, I have two of my good friends here. One of them you've met before in a video, whatever video that was. I do not remember. Yes, I do. Eli, you were in the first game board video, right?
Yeah, pretty sure I was, man.
Yeah, you were, because we got upset at a certain thing that happened, and I remember we talked about it afterwards. Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
So that's most of you guys have already met him. From what you guys are seeing to my right, this yellow thing is my good friend Cadmium Cord, who is joining us for the first time on the channel. A good friend of mine for the past 2 years. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello there, I'm Cad. Like Colin, I aspire to be an author. I also run plenty of D&D games in my spare time. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, and it is good to have you. So, we're going to be doing a bit of a summary type deal. We're going to be going over like what all we're going to be talking about during the series and kind of give like a base explanation of what each thing is. And then over the course of the next couple episodes, we're going to be giving more details on each of those points. So, let's jump right in. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is we're going to go over a list of everything that we will be talking about. So the first thing will be theme. Theme is extremely important in every world. Theme is what supports your... It's what gives you your idea for your world, and theme can be anything from fantasy to sci-fi to realistic. You can go into a bit more detail with that and say your theme is fantasy, but what kind of fantasy? Do you want it to be straight up medieval fantasy? Do you want it to be fantasy that combines elements of medieval with elements of something else? For example, let's see. I'll use Fairy Tail, the anime. If you've ever seen Fairy Tail, they are it's a medieval setting, but it has elements from other worlds in it, such as cars. Cars exist there. They're powered by magic. There you go. That's a theme. So we'll be talking a bit about that in words are hard. We'll be talking about that in upcoming episodes. Do you guys have anything to add on theme?
Yeah, actually, talking about anime. For example, there's an anime. I'm not sure if y'all have seen it yourselves, but it's called Magi, and it's got thematics of like fairy tales, actual fairy tales.
Yeah.
Heavily inspired by the story 1001 Nights or Arabian Nights. Really great anime to get into if you're looking for something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, definitely worth taking into account the things like that. Sapkowski, Andrzej Sapkowski, wrote the Witcher series, and he actually used a lot of old Grimm fairy tales and Polish folklore whenever writing this grim, dark retelling,
Yeah. I mean, if I could just add a little bit onto that,
Yeah, yeah, please.
not only looking onto like these uh, ideas of like what we can physically idealize, but also looking at general ideas too, and building worlds around those can be especially interesting ideas. You know, where
Hmm.
we can see the worlds built not only in like world building novels, but the worlds built uh, in just literary novels, great literary novels, and just looking at them in a more extrinsic sense and diving further into them.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
So, as you can see, theme is extremely important. Theme is kind of one of, if not the defining factor that goes into building a world. So, the most important thing you want to do when coming up with your theme is you want to think of what makes you happy. You want to think of,
Candy.
candy. Alright, so we're going to do a quick little world building exercise here. So, candy makes Eli happy. Therefore, his theme is candy, which would I'm only assuming here. We could go on two different routes. We could do a world inspired by candy, such as Candyland, or we could do something along the lines of, like the world is centered around the use of candy, but not everything is made out of candy. So there we
Hey
go.
man, can I get some candy, man?
Uh,
Like I don't know. I could imagine it in kind of like a drug seedy way.
mm-hmm. You,
Oh,
you could do it in a
sugar is one of the
drug way.
most addictive drugs.
Yeah.
That is true. That is very, very true.
Um,
So yeah, theme is what we'll be talking about in the second episode of this series. Now we can move on to our next subject, which is details. So details are things such as, when you're building a world, once you have your theme finalized, you want to go into, well, what makes your world unique? What kind of what do the people there do? What events have taken place? You need a timeline. You need all sorts of different defining factors that will go into this. So, real quick, I will give an example. I have a world known as Alcasia, and this is the world that I will be talking about throughout this series as sort of my example building world. I built it for something else and it never got used. So, we're actually going to take it and use it as my example world for this series. So the first thing that we'll talk about is it's kind of steampunkish. That's its theme. It's very steampunk and magic oriented, but not in the sense of um, another world that I created. This one's actually a bit more dull on the magic side. I mean the steampunk side, and more into the magic side. So, Alcasia is a world created by a group of aliens known as Palians. I know, really creative name. Hold your applause. Um, but the Palians are like a rockish uh, type creature.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Sorry.
Yeah, they're a bunch of Dwayne the Rock Johnsons running around, uh, just wrestling buildings into existence. Um, so yeah, the Palians are a bunch of rocks that have sort of
Wrestling buildings into existence.
they're wrestling
Sorry.
buildings into existence. Yes, either that or they're singing them into existence.
That's cool.
But the Palians are rock creatures that are kind of gilded in golden arches. Their joints are held together by energy instead of bone. They just like their body parts just kind of float in tandem with each other. But that's just flavor. So the Palians created Alcasia as a sort of experiment. They populated it with different races from different places. Like you got your humans, you got your dwarves, your elves. I went with the basic races just for the sake of this example. But they populated it. So then you have your timeline. You create a timeline based off of when the Palians created the world to to wherever your present is, or if you don't have a present and you've already ended the story, you create a timeline from your present, from your creation to the present point in your storytelling to the end. So here's the example I'll give for timeline. Right now, I have a timeline based off of when the Palians created said Alcasia, versus moves up to my present, which is currently it's an investigation arc in the story. They're investigating an event that's going on to the end point of the story where Alcasia no longer exists. And I'll kind of go into more detail on why it no longer exists as we go about the series. But there is a reason it does not exist, and the investigation I'm at right now is the point in the timeline that we are currently at in the story. And that's why timeline's important. You want to know where you're starting, where you are, and where you're ending, so that you can, if you're creating a story for this world, you have plot points that you can go off of. But more things on detail are like, is your world a centralized world? Like, is it one planet per se, or like a plane of existence? Is it a universe? And does it have multiple worlds in it that your story could explore? So that's what we mean by when we say details. You need populations, you need settlements, cities, planets. You need to plan out how your world is going to function. You guys have anything you want to add?
No.
You hit it on the head there, my friend.
All right, there we go. So the next episode after that, we'll be talking about kind of like miscellaneous things that kind of go into it. Just kind of anything and everything. When you build a world, you should do it for you. Yes, you're creating it, for other people to enjoy, but you should create this world because you enjoy it. And when I say that, I mean, think of some of the greats. For example, George Lucas when he created Star Wars, or Stan Lee when he created Spider-Man. They did those things because they wanted to. They didn't do it because somebody told them to. They didn't do it because it got popular. They did them because they wanted to do them. And they happened to become popular just branching off of that. The popularity is not what I look at when I build a world. When I build a world, I think of how much fun am I going to have doing it, what's really cool and stands out to me, and then I go from there. If people find it interesting, alright, cool, awesome. That means that they like it. If they don't find it interesting, that's up to them. Not everybody likes Star Wars, not everybody likes Marvel, not everybody likes DC. You just kind of, you build it because you want to. That's the most important point. Don't let people tell you that your world should not exist because they don't like it. And I've actually had people, complain about the way some of my stories have gone in the past because they just don't like them. But that's not a reason to stop. When you create a world, if people like it, you want them to like it enough to where they will take those stories and they can branch out on their own and write stories that exist in your world. Just like what George Lucas did with Star Wars. He put so much effort into Star Wars that people started writing books in the same universe. That's incredible. To me, that means you have succeeded more than probably anybody as a writer. If you've gotten it to the point where Star Wars, Marvel, and DC are, you've made it in life. That's kind of how I choose to look at it. But, I mean, I write my worlds for fun. I'm sure you guys write yours for fun. So yeah, if y'all want to say anything on that, go ahead.
I mean, I write for myself, of course. Writing for, the fame and opening up of career doors, for sure that's a secondary, but if I feel sick with writing a story, I would just rather put it down than keep going at it.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. If you've created a world that you put effort into, but like you just kind of fall out of it, don't feel pushed to keep building that world. If you've built a world and you're not really into it anymore, you don't really like it, I would not say destroy that world. Because, in my opinion, that's kind of like destroying a part of yourself. You put your soul into it, don't destroy it per se, but, save it. Save it for maybe a time where you get inspired by something else and you want to pick it back up. Just because you're writing a world does not mean you have to stay with that world. And
Totally.
you don't have to write just one. Nothing in writing / world building states that you have to write just one story and stick with it. George Lucas didn't just write Star Wars, he wrote Indiana Jones as well. He wrote Indiana Jones, mate. But yeah, he wrote that as well. So you have these. You don't have to just stick with one, and you don't have to build it. I mean, I built Alcasia, and I kind of fell off of it, and look what I'm getting it to use now. I'm getting to use it to, help you guys write worlds. I'm assuming that's why you're watching this video. If you've clicked on it and you're not trying to write a world, then hi, you're learning things, and that's great. We like education. But yeah, so you don't have to stick with it. You don't have to do more than, you don't have to do just one. Just kind of do your own thing. Do what makes you happy, and that is how you build a world. So, real quick, I'll let them kind of explain their example worlds that we'll be using for the series, and then that should wrap up today's episode. But yeah, I already gave mine. Mine was Alcasia, so, Eli, I'll let you go first.
Wow, man. I am in the midst of the fire itself right now. I feel thrown upon and I feel jousted upon. I feel whatever other verb that I can use right now to explain how I feel in this current situation. Well, right now, or not right now, for this series I'm going to be using a country, really a country, kind of an area, a republic in a way, just in colonies that divided in some kind of republic or way where it's an interesting idea as of starting in kind of this European region where this religious sect separates, goes, I don't know, east, I suppose, in this situation, and describing the climate, east, south, southeast, my bad. And then from there they separate further into 10 colonies, become a republic, and represent themselves as a country with being separate beings. Kind of like the United States of America, but slightly like the anarchist Vatican,
Yeah. So would you say that yours is more rooted in a realistic standpoint, like it could happen in the real world, or would yours still kind of be considered fiction, like you have, magic or laser guns?
I don't think that, in a sense, yeah, I suppose, that it wouldn't be rooted in the actual, physical world or anything.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I can say, that there is going to be magic or laser guns or anything. Because, I mean, it's just not how I think about the idea,
Yeah.
It's kind of, whenever I think about the landscape that I'm dealing with here, I'm thinking about this massive wasteland of desert that people have populated in their own way, what and what not. Some people using it for, like, religious conscious, some people using it for purely financial gain,
Mm-hmm.
It's
So-
kind of like, the Middle East with cowboys.
So we could say yours leans
Interesting.
closer to realism than other subcategories.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Alright. Cadmium, do you want to do yours?
Yeah, sure. At the moment, I'm going to be introducing my world that I use for my D&D campaign. It's called Eldoran. Uh, our good buddy Metal Chalk has experience with this, as he's recently taken to joining us on our campaign, which I'm super excited to get back into next week. I'd love to see what you do.
I will mess with that scarab.
In any case, the scarab. Oh, geez. Well, yeah, Eldoran. The funny thing about it is that yes, it's a fantasy style world, slightly more advanced in things. You have aspects where magic makes life easier. Magic makes life. It powers technologies like airships. Powers things like magical books that can transport you anywhere in the world. Called the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Multiverse. Um, Sorry, Hitchhiker's Atlas to the Plains. There we go.
Oh. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but the fun thing about it is that it's a world that also understands that there was a world before it that died. Um, I know Colin. Sorry.
No, you can call me by my real name. I don't care.
Oh, cool, cool. Sorry. I know Metal Chalk and I had a group of friends. I ran the first game with them with back at college, and unfortunately, their party failed in their mission. They failed to save the world, and so it ended.
Oh man.
And parts of that world and its people ended up getting shoved into this new world that was created in the aftermath. Uh, Funnily enough, it had its own iterations of these people, and some of them were, merged together. Some of them were completely separate beings.
Hmm.
And it led to this beautiful, elegant corpse. What was it called? Exquisite corpse. Yeah, that's the artistic thing of it. You get cultures of two different realities, basically,
Yeah.
merged into onto another. Any questions?
Um, would you? So yours would definitely be more rooted towards an extremely fantasy setting.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
So
super fantasy.
yeah, his theme would be fantasy, magic, that all the things that go in to support that. As far as
Yeah.
I'm aware, my character is the only that's the closest thing to what a sci-fi character would be, isn't it?
Well, the fun thing is that like, Mechanus is its own plane.
True.
Um, and I've in some areas of the world, I would say that there's like steampunk-like cities powered by magical, you know, cores of things. There's a cleaning section of modrons and pentadrons that are literally simply the sanitation works of this one city. Like, it's great. I love it. Um, they are called the Terrences and the Howards. He- Hello, I am Howard. Howard, you.
Howard, you. Perfect.
Oh yeah. No, it's great. I look forward to showing my friends this world, and if it ever comes out where I write this down and write the adventures down, I'd love to show everybody else.
Yeah. On that note, I think that'll just about do us for episode 1.
Oh, excellent.
So, yeah, we're definitely excited to film the rest of this series. We've got some big plans. Eli and I have been talking about a lot of really cool stuff that we want to do with this series.
Yeah.
Cadmium's kind of, he's along for the ride right now. We're going to tell him a lot about what else is going on later, but we've got some big plans for what's going on right now. We're super excited. So, if you guys want to see something that we do not discuss over the course of the next 3 episodes, please leave that in the comments, because we want to know what you want to know. We want to know what you guys want us to talk about. If you have something that we don't go over that you really want to know about, we will do everything in our power to research it and look at our own worlds and see what we did to help you figure out something for you. So if you have any questions or want to know something about how to build a world, please leave that in the comments, and we will definitely do everything we can to put that out there. So yeah, that's all I've got for tonight. Yeah. So if you guys enjoyed this, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or comments about the video, or if you'd like to suggest a topic for a future video, please be sure to leave that down in the comment box below. Hope y'all have a good day or night depending on where you live, and we'll see you all in episode 2 where we talk about theme.
Wah!